In this lesson, you'll build your first web page using only HTML. Let's get started. So what will you learn in this lesson? First, you'll learn how to set up a web development environment. Then we will learn how to set up your project folder. Every web project that you are developing needs to be in a folder. And so I'll guide you through how to set up a project folder that would contain your CSS file, JavaScript, and an HTML file. Then we will install a code editor. A code editor is a software that aids in writing code for web development. Later, we would create a basic HTML structure that would contain the code that we would want to write. And then we will see how we can take the HTML file that we've written or the code in the HTML file and then view it on our web browser as a web page. Lastly, we would experiment and add more content to our web page so we could have a complete web page. Stay tuned. So how do we set up a web development environment? You will need two things: a code editor and a web browser. A web browser interprets HTML, CSS, and JavaScript code to enable you to display web pages. Developers use web browsers to see how their website appears to users. Now, any web browser can be used. These are some examples of web browsers: Microsoft Edge, Firefox, Safari, Google Chrome. In this lesson, we will use Google Chrome as our web browser. So if you don't have Google Chrome installed on your computer, go ahead and do so. Then you will need a code editor. A code editor enables developers to write code for websites. Now, most operating systems comes with their default code editor. So for the Windows operating system, we have the Notepad as the default editor, whilst Mac OS have TextEdit as their default editor. Now, these editors have limited functionality, so it is recommended to install a fully fledged code editor. In this lesson, we will use Sublime Text as our code editor. So let's see the steps in installing Sublime Text on our computer. So this is Google search, and I've entered Sublime Text as a search input. Now I have the result of Sublime Text. The first one that I'm seeing is this one, which is the Sublime Text editing done right. That is the official website where I can download Sublime Text. So let's click on it and see what we get. We are now redirected to the official site for Sublime Text. Because I'm on a Windows PC, I see download for Windows. So I'm going to click on download for Windows. Once I click on it, the package will be downloaded and it will be in my download folder. So let's see how we are going to run and launch our application. Alright, so this is my download folder, and as you can see, I have the Sublime Text package here. So how do I install it? I'm just going to double click on it to set it up. Then you see, do you want to run this file? The next thing that you do is to click on the run button. It's going to initiate the process for you to set up Sublime Text on your PC. So you would need to follow each step till you get to the final step. So we have a prompt here: do you want to allow this app to make changes to your device? You click on yes, and then you follow the prompt. It's very simple. I have successfully installed and run my Sublime Text editor. So this is the interface you see when you launch your editor. Now that you successfully installed our code editor, Let's see how to create the project folder for web development. So in web development, you normally would want to have a project folder. The project folder is to store any other web project that you would have. So how do we create a project folder? First, you navigate to your desired location on your computer. You can have the project folder on your desktop or in your document folder. Then you create your new folder and name it based on your project. So you can give your project, your folder, a name, for instance, web project. The next thing you do is to organize your folder structure. It is always a good practice to have subfolders to keep your files organized. So in your folder, you are going to create an index.html file. That is the main HTML file you need in the root directory of your folder. And then you are going to create 4 subfolders, one for CSS or style sheets, one for JavaScript files, one for images, and then one for assets. In this lesson, however, we are not going to have any file in our CSS folder, JavaScript, or images folder. The only file that we would need is the index.html file. It is, however, a good practice to have all of these subfolders in your web projects. In my document folder, I've created another folder I've named WebDev. That is the folder that is going to contain my subfolders that I'm going to use for web development. In this WebDev folder, I have 3 subfolders. One named CSS, one named images, and the last named JavaScript. Next, we need to upload this folder in our code editor, which is the Sublime Text code editor. Let's see how to go about it. So I have my Sublime Text code editor opened. The first thing I'll do is locate the file, click on Open Folder. This is going to navigate to my PC. Then I locate the name of the folder I created. For my case, it's called WebDev. So I'm going to click on WebDev and then click on the Select Folder button. Once you do that, you will see that you are going to have a folder structure here. This is the WebDev folder that we currently have. All the files you create while developing the website should be saved in the folder you have created. It is best to get into the habit of writing your folder and file names in lowercase, with no space and with words separated by hyphen. Inside the WebDev folder, let's create our first HTML file named index.html. So the blank page that you have in the right section is where you would write your code, whether HTML, CSS, or JavaScript code. It is what we'll call a document. Now, because we are writing HTML code, we need to save this blank page as an HTML file. So let's see how we would achieve that. By default, when you launch your Sublime Text, you have a document created. That is what you see as a blank screen with a number 1. This document, however, needs to be saved in a format that can be used. Because we are writing HTML, we are going to save this file as index.html. Let's see how we are going to go about it. Click on the File toolbar, then click on the Save As link. This will open your project folder. So we need to save this file as an index.html file. So you notice that in the dialog box here, we have file name. So we are going to name this as index.html, and then we'll click the Save button. Once you do that, you will notice that the name here, where you have the 1, the name has changed to index.html, and in your project folder too you have the index.html. So it means that you already have an HTML document ready for you to start writing your code. Next, we'll look at how to enhance our code editor with plugin. A code editor plugin is a small piece of software that adds new features or functionality to a code editor. So for this, we would install a plugin called Emmet. This popular plugin allows developers to instantly create boilerplate code and to autocomplete HTML tags. So once you have Emmet installed in your Sublime Text, when you want to write any HTML tags, it's very easy for you to write a tag. So you don't need to remember the syntax. Once we install it, you see how Emmet works. So to install Emmet, what you need to do is to launch your code editor. Then you go to the tools toolbar and then locate the command palette on the toolbar. Then you run this command, run package control install package command. This will give you a list of all the packages that you can install in your code editor. So you'll find Emmet package and then install it. So let's go through these steps. So let's see how to install Emmet in our Sublime Text editor. First step, you click on Tools. Then you click on Command Palette. Now in the command palette, you have packages that you can install or remove. Because you want to install a package, you write package control install, which is this one, package control install. This will give us a list of plugins that we can add to our Sublime Text code editor to give it more features or functionalities. We want to use the Emmet plugin, so we search for Emmet. That's the first one that we have here. Emmet, the essential tool for web developers. So to install, I simply click on it and click on the enter key. Once it is installed, you see a welcome message, package control messages, Emmet plugin is installed. And then it guides you on how to use the Emmet plugin for your web development. So yes, we have Emmet installed. Let's see what we'll do next. We have learned that an HTML file consists of an HTML document. Now there are standard set of tags that you will need in any HTML document. This standard set of tags is often referred to as boilerplate code. Remember that every web page needs to start with an HTML element, which will include the head, title, and then the body element. Because we will need this structure throughout our HTML document, Emmet provides a shortcut for us to generate this structure without necessarily writing it step by step. So let's see how we will use Emmet to generate what we will call our boilerplate code. To add the boilerplate code to any HTML file, click on the Shift key and the exclamation key. This will generate the boilerplate code for you. All that you need to do is to click on the Tab key. Then you have your boilerplate code generated for you. So the next step is to ensure that this file is saved by clicking on the Save button. So File, Save, or you can use the shortcut Control plus the S key. Okay, so now we know how to create our boilerplate code for the HTML file. What you want to do next is how to run whatever code that you write in the HTML file in a browser. So let's see how to achieve that. We learned that in web development, any content that you want to be visible to your user should be in the body tag. So currently you will notice that in our body tag there is no HTML element here. So this body tag is empty, meaning that when we run this HTML file in our browser, we will not see any content displayed on the web page. To solve this issue, we would write our first HTML tag so that when we run the HTML file in the browser, we would see a content that is displayed on the web page. Because we installed Emmet, writing HTML tag is now simple. How do we go about it? The first thing you need to do is to bring in your open angle bracket. Then you see all the HTML tags that you can have. So we want to write a heading 1 tag. So I'm going to press on H, and it gives me all the heading tags that I can use. I want a heading 1, so I press on H1. It gives me a heading 1 tag, and the only thing that I need to do is to press on the tab key. Then I have my heading 1 tag created. So I have my opening tag and then the closing tag. Now we also know that every content that you need to display to the user should be between the opening tag and then the closing tag. So we want to put a content in our opening H1 tag and the closing H1 tag. So let's write the content hello world. Now we have the hello world content in between our opening H1 tag, then the closing H1 tag. Always remember to save your file anytime you make changes to your HTML file. So let's save this file. The shortcut for saving is Ctrl and then the S key. Right, now we have our HTML file saved with the content hello world inside the body element. How do we view this HTML file in our web browser? Now you can install a plugin to enable you view changes that you make on your HTML file. That will give you a live preview of any change that you make to the HTML file. However, we will look at the initial approach of running the HTML file manually. To do that, you can simply locate the file you'd want to write, especially the HTML file. Right click on it and then you see open containing folder. So it's going to open the folder that you have your subfolders and the HTML file in. Now we are immediately redirected to our web dev folder that we created, and then we see our index.html file. You can run this HTML file with any browser of your choice. However, we said that we will be using Google Chrome as our web browser. So to run this HTML file, first you right click on the index.html. There's going to be a pop-up menu. Look for open with and then select the browser of your choice. In this case, we are going to use Google Chrome. So you locate Google Chrome as your browser and then click on it. So once you click on it, it's going to open your web browser, and then any content that you have inside your body tag would show as a web page. So you notice here we have the text hello world showing, and then in the browser tab we have the link to where we have our file. So we go to document web dev, and then we see our index.html file. So this hello world is the first content that we are displaying on the web page. To recap the process, moving forward, all your content you want to display to the user would be inside the opening body tag, and then the closing body tag. In this example, we have an H1 tag, an opening H1 tag, then a closing H1 tag. Between the H1 tag, we write the content that we want to display to the user when they visit our website. So for this example, the content we have here is hello world. Now we want to run this HTML file so that users can view, or we can see how it looks like when we visit a web page. So we locate this index.html file, click on the open containing folder, and then we see the file that we've created in the folder index.html. Right click on it, look for open with, and then select Google Chrome. That would run your HTML file, and the result will be displayed in the browser like this. We learned that whatever content you place in the title tag is what is going to display on the web browser. So we'll change the content document to something readable or that has a clear message. So I'm going to write the text, welcome to my web page. Next, we'll take this H1 that reads hello world from the body tag. Then I'm going to create a heading for my web page. Just like when you're reading a page in a book, there are headings, subheadings, and paragraph. When you are building your web page, you would have a heading and then a paragraph. So my heading is going to be the text about me, and then my paragraph would be a text about me. Let's see how to achieve that. So I'll start with the H1 tag. Then I write the content about me. The next thing I want to do is to add paragraph to the heading. So I'll go to the next line by clicking on the enter key. Then I'll write a paragraph tag. Shift left angle bracket P will give me a paragraph tag. Then I click on the tab key to give me an opening and closing paragraph tag. Now within it, I'll place my content. Hello world. So the content in this paragraph reads, hello world, my name is Emmanuel and I'm learning how to code. Let's see the results in our web page. To view the results, go to your browser, what you initially opened, and then reload it. Now you see we have a different content being displayed here. The about me and then the text, hello world, my name is Emmanuel, I'm learning to code. Because I want to break this web page into smaller sections, I would have a subheading. So for the subheading, I'm not going to use the H1. I'm going to use an H2, H3, or H4. These are the HTML elements that are being used for subheading. So I'm going to choose the H2 heading, and then within that H2 tag, I'm going to write the content while learn how to code. So let's do this together. On this same P tag, I'm going to press on the enter key to move to the next line. Then I'm going to write my H2. Click on the tab key to have my opening and closing H2. Then I write the content while learn how to code. After this, I'm going to have my paragraph that explains why it is important to learn how to code. So let's go to the end of the h2 closing tag and then generate another p tag. This time round, I've already copied the content. So within the opening p tag and the closing p tag, I'm going to paste the content that I've copied. So you see that I have a large chunk of text here. All of these text will be in the p tag. Why? Because we are dealing with a paragraph. So anytime you'd want to have a large chunk of text, ensure it is in the p tag. And always ensure you save your file before you reload it in the browser. So let's save this file. You can use Ctrl S or go to File and then click on the save for it to be saved. So we now have our file saved. Alright, so to view the additional code or HTML code that you've added to your HTML file, you can simply reload your web browser to see the changes reflected. Alternatively, you can open the containing folder and then double click on the HTML file for it to open in the web browser. So let's try the other method and see. So this is my code, and then in the code I have my index.html file. I'm going to open the containing folder, which will take me to the project folder. Then I double click on the HTML file. So I'm just going to double click on it. Then you see the changes reflected in the browser. So the updated code now has two headings. The first one about me, which is written in heading 1, which is this one, what we have here, h1 about me. Then the next heading, h2, is why learn how to code. So when you go back to your browser, you will see h2, why learn how to code. Now notice that the h2 is smaller than the h1 because heading 1 element has the highest or the biggest size, followed by heading 2, heading 3, and so on. Then we have our paragraph. Hello world, my name is Emmanuel. This paragraph that we are seeing displayed on the web page was generated using this HTML code. So we see the paragraph tag, the p tag here, and then the p tag here. Then we have the content in between. Then the other paragraph was generated with this code. So with every paragraph, you start with an opening p tag, a closing p tag. Then you will have your content inside the code, inside the opening and closing p tag. Whenever you save your HTML file and then you go to your browser and reload, you should see the changes reflected in your browser. So with this approach, I believe you can continue to add more elements to the HTML file to create your first web page. Thank you for joining me in this lesson. Please subscribe to the channel and see you next time. Take care.